Yeah, let's talk about charisma. So this one is an interesting one. I think they're pretty close on this category. Talk about Reigns and Cena's charisma, presence, factor in maybe entrance into this category too. When both guys are on the screen, it's must see TV. And Cena's at a different level now in current day just because he's never around. So when Cena does make an appearance, it's like, oh my god, I have to watch this. And
Yeah.
it's similar with Reigns. Like he's around, like he'll take a couple weeks off here and there. He'll be around building up to a pay per view where he's gonna be defending the title. So yeah, it's like okay, I'm gonna check that out. I want to see what Reigns is doing. It's not the same level as current Cena. Like if we're talking overall charisma, I think I got to give the edge to Cena on this one.
Yeah, so Cena's better when he goes on like Jimmy Fallon and he goes on these like the Daily Show, like these morning shows. Like Cena, as far as like a brand ambassador, is just he's just a little bit better. Probably because his personality is a bit more just like not goofy, but it's a bit more like kind of just like fun. Like, if that makes sense. Roman's like he's a bit more serious. He's still got the like like kind of fun side to him, but Cena was just like a bit more, I guess, and has been more like kind of, I guess, likable, easy to gravitate to. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Sort of
absolutely.
thing. Yeah, this is one of those ones where it's like it's close, but I mean you'll tip it to Cena. I'd say just because of the longevity of how many appearances he's done on these shows and like his general personality. But as far as charisma, yeah, like from WWE, like in the week to week shows perspective, I'd say what Reigns does nowadays is better than most of what Cena did in his career. From the perspective of Kevin 10 years ago, every Raw would open with Cena coming out. I'm in Miami Nation. I'm here. I'm fighting Ryback at Extreme Rules. I overcome everything, Sin Nation. Like stuff like that. You think to yourself, what kind of is this charismatic? Like he's cutting the same promos. He's addressing the local sports team in Miami. He's saying that the Dolphins are going to win the Super Bowl and getting a cheap pop. Like that. This is charisma. This is Cena. But nowadays, I'd say, yeah, I'll tip this one to Cena just because of the longevity. But yeah, Reigns is doing now from the charisma standpoint. He comes out, it's machismo. Like he's the big G. That's literally Reigns' characters. He's top G of WWE. It's great. So
yeah, and for me, I think Cena is. Oh, I'm sorry. I think charisma is Cena's greatest overall attribute. So I would give him a 10 in this category. I would give Reigns like an 8.5, 9. Reigns is very charismatic too. Reigns always had that natural charisma. And he was the guy that when the Shield would come out, you'd be like, okay, yeah, Reigns is the guy that's going to be a WWE champion in the near future. You look at Rollins, you look at Ambrose, like yeah, those guys are great, but Reigns has it all. Reigns is like what 6'4", built like a football player, jacked, body of a Greek god, super athletic, great entrance. He always commanded people's attention from even the Shield days, even his NXT days. It was just something different about him. But with Cena, and I think what makes him so great is you talk about like the rinse, wash, repeat promos. Nobody else could. I don't think anybody else could ever do what Cena did. I don't think you could put anyone else, whether it's Hulk Hogan, Austin, Bret Hart, any of the all-time greats. I don't think you could put any of them in what's seen in Cena's position, what he did in that climate, and he could just make it where people still want to see him. He would come out every week, do the same thing, but people, the people that grew up on the Attitude Era that just hated Cena, they were still tuning in to hate watch his segments, and the kids and the families, they were tuning in because they love Cena. It's unprecedented, and I think that speaks to his charisma. Like, let's say, for example, you put Kurt Angle in that position, just to throw a name out there. Not to pick on Kurt Angle, but you put him in that position. You have Kurt Angle, you make him the face of WWE, and you have him play this character where he's an obnoxious Olympic hero babyface, and he does a similar shtick to John Cena. I think it would have got tiring. I don't think it would have worked the same. Cena's he's got that natural it factor to him that you can't really put into perspective. And that's what makes him in the conversation for the Mount Rushmore topic. And that's why Reigns is not there. Maybe Reigns will get there at one point. But Cena, he always had people's attention no matter what he was doing. I think it's unprecedented.
Yeah, and I feel like with that example, a better example probably would be like Randy Orton. That's for that one because like Kurt Angle was one of the most charismatic guys ever, I'd say as well. Like someone like Randy Orton doing that, where he's cutting that shtick week in week out, people would have just tuned out in droves. Ratings would have been in the twos. But Kevin, did I hear you say that you think Cena's greatest attribute is charisma?
I think it might be. I think it might be. Like, yeah, his mic skills are fantastic too. It's absolutely fantastic, but I think his charisma might be his greatest attribute. That's what separates the others. He's got the it factor. He's got that it factor. Like he's the guy. He should have been future endeavored in 2002, and somehow he just got this one segment where he did a Vanilla Ice impersonation with Stephanie McMahon on Halloween, and parlayed that into maybe the greatest career in the history of wrestling. And I think that speaks volumes to his charisma.
Yeah, I was going to say Cena's greatest attribute would be burying young talent, but I mean that's just me.
Oh my god, come on. Are you kidding me?
Well, let's move on. So next, what's the next topic you got?